Jesus. Hey, we're about to go live. Appreciate y'all. Had a little difficulty here. Take it back just a little bit. There we go.
Hello, everybody.
Hold on, y'all. We'll be right.
We are coming to you live tonight, as we do every Thursday night at 9 o'clock. Welcome to the My Relationship Movement.
Yeah. Okay. Y'all, hold on. We're going to straighten this out. Make sure this is right. Make sure we can see everybody good.
Tilt it up just a little bit.
There we go. That should work. That's good enough. We'll be all right. My head's cut up, though.
Tilt it upward. The camera.
Y'all come on. Just come on.
There you go. That's it right there.
That's good. That'll be all right.
All right.
Yeah, we'll work it.
Keep coming. Keep coming.
Hey, y'all share this on your page. Keisha, what's up?
What's up, Centoria?
Hello.
We'll live with it tonight.
We'll live
We got to
with
live with
it.
it.
Let me share it.
Keep coming. Keep coming. Welcome back to the My Relationship Movement. Every Thursday night,
I need my water.
we come to you live. Hey, Bratisha. We come to you live.
Hey, Lisa, you joining?
I am joining and sharing, and I'm also going to share this with our page.
And you know I cannot reach them.
Yes. Make sure you're sharing. We're so excited to talk to you guys tonight. You might want to go just a little. Let's see.
Hold tight. Coming at you.
I'm excited.
So last week,
let's do a recap.
Last week, Lawrence, the enlightenment specialist, and Elisa, the empowerment specialist, did a phenomenal job.
Well, thank you.
Phenomenal job.
There we go. That's better.
I was listening in, dozing off in between my medication. I had ankle surgery last Tuesday, so thank you for the well wishes that I got from you guys. Thank you so much. But they were doing a hot job. They were on fire last week. The two of them just going back and forth. I say, they sound like their brother and sister up there.
We had a blast. If you guys did not get to join us last week, go to YouTube and look at the video. We had a really amazing time. We were so grateful to see how many people actually joined us last week when we talked about what happens when I'm wrong, when it's me that messed up. And, we saw that we had about 1,500 people that joined us by the time we logged on because you guys shared it. And we were so excited that so many people joined us. So we were just so proud. And if you missed it, if you didn't get a chance to see it, listen, go over to YouTube and we want you guys to watch it. I promise you guys, you will learn something from that segment.
Great.
Thanks for the love, guys. Thank you so much.
Hey, please share this. On a serious note, please share this. Just hit the share button out at the bottom on your page. There may be some other people who need to hear this conversation tonight.
Absolutely.
We're talking about going from a man to a king and from a woman to a queen.
That's right.
Great subject tonight, so I want you to tune in.
That's right.
And share this on your page. Thank y'all for showing the love already. We're going to get kicked off in a second. Trying to wait for a couple more people to get on.
Hi, I see my cousin from Florida. Hi, Willie. Thank you for joining. Listen, if you guys have not already, go to myrelationshipmovement.com. You can see videos of some of the sessions that we've done. We've been doing this for quite a while now, and we want you guys to go back and you can view any of our videos. We have t-shirts that we are selling on our site. We want you guys to go check them out. You will be able to go on and see Dr. T talk about some things by herself, and even in a group, you'll be able to see Lawrence talk. You'll be able to see me talk. Go to our Facebook page as well. You can join the movement. You'll be able to get notified whenever we have something new. We're getting ready to introduce at the end of this segment. We have something new that we are presenting tonight, and so we want you guys to stay tuned. Follow the movement, and definitely, if you haven't, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please, we would love to have you guys join us.
Thank you, Deborah Thornton, for sharing. If I can get the rest of everybody on there to share, it would be so greatly appreciated. Arnetta, hit that share button.
What's up, Arnetta?
Nick Hillary, hit that share button. What's up now? I mean, hit that share button. We'll help y'all out tonight.
Yeah, we have a great topic, and it just seems like it's just getting better and better every time we come on.
Every time.
So we're grateful. We're grateful about just being able to get in front of you guys and be transparent. Like we always say, the My Relationship movement is about fostering healthy relationships, and it's not just about. It's about identifying those things that cause our relationships to be unhealthy, and then finding out, equipping us with the tools that we need to not just get them, but to maintain healthy relationships. And so. And Knighton always says, and we always say it, we're not trying to impress, we are trying to impact. And that's what we really hope that we're doing.
And we do this because we honestly believe that we need to share what we've experienced.
That's right.
So it's not, and I often say that our life's experiences are not just for us, that is our job to share with others.
That's right.
So we try to be as transparent as we can when we're here on with you guys. And believe it or not, a lot of times what we share is things that we've lived through.
Absolutely.
Live through it.
That's not the surprise that we're introducing. No. It's not that.
Let's get this party started.
Let's get this.
After they share.
Yeah.
Hit the share button,
Keep
guys.
coming, guys. Keep coming,
hit
guys.
them star, hit the like.
Thank you, guys. I see you all are on tonight. Thank you guys so much. I see new faces that are joining, and I'm just excited.
Me too.
I'm excited to have you guys with us. Again, as we always say, feel free to comment, ask questions as we go along. We hope that we're not just doing this. Some of the things we know we go through a lot of information. You guys can always go back and watch it later on our My Relationship Movement Facebook page, or you can go to YouTube. We upload the videos to YouTube, and maybe go back, in some of those and say, hey, that's something I wanted to write down, and just to get this thing really in your mind and your spirit and your heart, because we don't want to just talk about it. We want to live this thing.
Live it. So take notes.
One of the things that I've discovered, and I was talking about this earlier, is that we have not been talking the king and queen language in our culture. Mm-hmm. And hopefully after this conversation tonight, we'll get the brothers to start living up to the king that's in them, and then the women to live up to the queen that's inside of them. So that's going to be our conversation for tonight. I really want us as a people, and I'm not necessarily talking about African American, I'm talking about anyone who's watching.
That's right.
We want to get to the point where we as men do our job to become the kings that God intended, and then for the ladies to become the queens.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's already inside of you.
That's right, and that's a good place to stop. To start. I just saw Pastor Dawn Jones. Thank you so much for joining. As I always say every week, she has a great show, Crossing Bridges, and I had a chance to listen in and be a part of that show. And one of the things that was mentioned on the show is a lot of times, and I don't know what this is, that they were asking the question about, are people really okay with us being ourselves around them? Mm. And you know what the truth kind of is? Not really. Do you know why? A lot of times it's because how we really feel about ourselves has a lot to do with how we feel about other people. You would think that's not the case. You would think, I feel it. No, but if I have an insecurity complex, if there is something about me that why can't I ever get that right? Or why don't I ever go after my dreams? And then I meet her Dr. T, and she's just as sweet as she wants to be. Well, there's something on the inside of me that's angry about myself for not doing different things. So I have a perception. And so now I can't look at her and embrace her for who she is, because I'm too busy deflecting those issues off of they're about me, but I want to put them up. And men do it as well. Sure. So we measure up all the time. We're not seeing ourselves correctly, and it really is what causes us to have incorrect relationships with other people. So tonight we really are addressing perception
and insecurity.
That
Absolutely.
might be next week's topic.
That might be next week's topic.
Let's
that's a good one. Again, thank you guys. I'm seeing people that I have not seen join before, so I'm so grateful for you guys joining.
Hey, Nicole.
So listen, let's talk about perception.
Okay.
Did you know that you would think the easiest thing in the world would be to say something great about yourself? Mm. You would want to say that you can just wake up and say, I'm a king or I'm a queen. But do you know why that's hard to do? Is what I just said is a lot of times, because we know the real us, we try to measure up. We have the expectation of, well, if I'm really a queen, if I'm really a king, Shouldn't my finances be better? Shouldn't I have accomplished this? Shouldn't this be under my belt? Shouldn't I have been doing this at this age and this at this time frame? And so what we do is we judge our circumstances, and we allow that to define us. And so I can't stand up and say, I'm a queen if I feel like, well, I should have been married by this age, or I shouldn't have got divorced, or I should have did this, and why didn't I own a house? I don't have this certain degree, or yes, I do, and I didn't do anything with it. Circumstances cause us sometimes to not really say to ourselves, I am royalty and I am this person. What happens when we define ourselves by our circumstances sometimes? What does that do to us?
We oftentimes magnify our flaws and minimize our successes. And so what we end up doing is we start looking at what others portray themselves as. And Facebook and Instagram, I've said this before, they perpetuate that insecurity that we have. Because if you look back at Facebook and you look at Instagram, people only post
the good stuff.
The good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
The stuff that draws you in, the successes, the good things that I've done. People only post the things that make them look good.
That's good.
They never post the struggle. They never post the progress. You never see someone who goes from being down and out to being successful. You always see the end.
That's good.
And you may get a story, but you're so busy looking at what they have in the end that you fail to look at the process itself. So what ends up happening is that, like you say, we end up comparing ourselves to other people. And we look at Facebook and we go, oh, you know what? I graduated from high school with her back in blah, blah, blah year. She's now a medical doctor and I'm still a secretary.
So I can be a queen.
So I can't be a queen.
Oh, no, not me. Let's talk about with men. Why then can't a man just look in the mirror and say to himself, I'm a king, and not having any issues with that? What is it that fights? And I know, and some of us, we know this, especially our males already have enough fighting against them. Let's talk about what are some of the things that causes our males not to be able to freely say, I'm a king.
Well, I think a lot of that stems from, and I always go back to the beginning, if you will. I think a lot of that stems from the fact that initially we're not told that we're kings.
Wow.
Most parents do not instill in their kids that you're somebody, you're a king. And so they hear enough negativity, oh, you're going to be just like your daddy. And so they have all this negative stuff being thrown at them until they don't even feel like they can even be a man, much less a king.
That's right.
And I think that those are some of the things that we're going to have to start doing is start really telling our boys, telling our young ladies who they really are. Because, again, once they start hearing that on a regular basis, they'll start to feel better about themselves. And I think that that's one of the ways that we have to use this platform to try to help instill in our young men and young ladies what it's all about.
So it's what we hear and what we see.
No question.
And it starts so early. One of the things that I often did as a school counselor when I first started was that when students would come in my office, I would always tell them that be the best you can be.
That's right.
That was the first thing. I always approached them as who they were going to be.
Absolutely.
So if a student walked in my office, let's say for instance you walked in my office, you were Mr. Knighton. You were never Lawrence. I always addressed the students the way I wanted them to present themselves.
That's good.
And eventually what ended up happening is students that would come in my office, if their pants were sagging, or if they had on a see-through shirt, or if they were dressed inappropriately in some manner, you would see them standing outside of my door before they even come in, making those adjustments. Because they knew once they walked in the door that they are Mr. or Miss. And then let me not find out what their aspirations were in the future. Then I started calling them as though they were. So if you walked in my office and we had sat down together and you said, I really want to be a doctor, you're no longer Mr. Knighton. When you walk in my office, you are now Dr. Knighton. I speak those things as though they were.
That's right.
And that I noticed a change in my students when I started doing that.
That's good.
And that's what I do at the church also. I speak to the kids to where they're going, if you will. And I think that's what we got to start doing. We have to start instilling in them some real high self-esteem that they might be able to feel better about themselves.
There's something about society in this day and time, and for those of you all that follow me and just in my personal life and not just even what I do with the movement, I empower because I think we're better together. And so I think is just what Lawrence just said. We don't hear enough of the good stuff.
Right, sure.
One of our watchers just kind of said other people's opinions can make you, if you accept it, and what society says, who we should be. And so that works both ways.
Sure.
You know, we talked about this in another session, another segment. We talked about how your words can make or break. The power of life and death really is in your tongue. And so a lot of times, you know, we can't address each other as kings and queens. Number one, we haven't saw that, number one. And number two, for some reason, we think it takes something away from us to be able to acknowledge somebody else's royalty. For some reason, for me to recognize and say, you are a queen, ma'am, for some reason, society has said that took something away from me.
Right.
It didn't make my crown any less shiny to sit there and say, I should have been celebrating. Whoa, somebody, we're at the level either that we're trying to be or we're getting ready to be higher. And so even with men, it should be celebrated. And I don't know, and we addressed this, one of our segments, and if you didn't get to see how to love the hell out of myself, we talked about some of the hell that's in us won't let us celebrate each other. And we specifically talked about when it's guys, you know, what is it? If you see a brother doing well, you see him trying to do something, we won't put our support behind him. You know, we'd rather find somebody way far away that we're not associated or affiliated with, and we want to get with them and share that stuff and like it and support them and advocate them, because something about us seems to feel like, what is it? You know, what is it? And again, I said that's insecurity, or that's something that's not that other person's issue. That really talks about some hell that's on the inside of us.
Sure. I have to throw shade to dim your light so that my light will shine brighter.
Pastor Don just said it will almost cost somebody their life to dare to be different. It's almost as if, let me, and you're right. What we're saying now is society has gotten so bad that when you stand out, they almost want to make a mockery out of you. It's almost like if you dare to say, hey, you know what, we're going to break out and do this movement, or we're going to break out and try something new, all of a sudden, you know, the other side of that is, you know, here's the backlash. Instead of saying, wow, somebody's doing it, here's something I can get behind that's going to help all of us. No, here's the backlash. Who does he think he is? Why does she think she's qualified to do it? Well, the platform was open to everybody. Anybody could have done it.
It's the crab and barrel mentality.
Absolutely.
I think another part, real quick, is even when you look at, and I'm talking from the male perspective now, even when you look at brothers per se, if you find a brother who's dressed real sharp, another man has a hard time even complimenting him. And so even if they do, they'll say it in a joking way. Man, Doc, you casket sharp. Instead of saying, hey, man, you're really, really looking nice today. And I think it's because we have not, again, felt comfortable and secure with ourselves. Because when you're comfortable and secure with who you are, it's easy to celebrate and to love somebody else. It really is. And I think that's what we have to do. We have to get to the point where we stop sort of masquerading, if you will, our inside hurts, and get to that point where we become healthy. That way, when you're healthy, you can learn how to send health to somebody else.
That's right. And that's why we're talking about this. We felt like it was important that, you know, if we really want to grow, and the crazy part about this is being a queen and being a king, being royalty really has everything to do with you as it relates to everybody else as well. And so you would like to think that it's just about me. And no. A kingdom consists of you and everybody else that's in it. And so we feel like society, I think I said this on a post earlier, being a queen doesn't mean smelling like honey and attracting bees. Like, it's not enough to say, oh, I smell good, got my Bath and Body Works, I'm looking good, and I'm attracting all of the attention that I want. That's not queendom. That's not queening. It's more than that. Being a king is not about sitting on a chair and barking out orders. It's more than that. And so what we're going to do is we're kind of going to go back and forth, and we're going to talk about those characteristics of royalty. Those, you know, one of the things that we're going to start with, and we'll go back and forth. Me and Dr. T are going to hit the women's side, and of course Lawrence is going to put us in there for the guys. One of the first qualifications, and this is how you identify: am I really walking as a king? And am I really walking as a king? Take notes, absolutely, and as a queen. The first thing to qualify you to be a king or a queen, it is, we call them the 4 P's. Number one, it's about position. Now, position has to do with, you know, we always say we can go biblical. The Bible talks about being a royal priesthood. The Bible talks about being a peculiar people. We like to say, I'm a king's kid. I'm a child of the king. That's position. But it also talks about the places and the situations that you find yourself in.
Sure.
It talks about when you are a king, when you are a kingship, it really speaks to leadership.
Right.
It speaks to being in an elevated position. It speaks to being in a place where others literally look up to you.
Right.
So when you look up to somebody, you look up to them. Queens and kings, they sit on these thrones because they have to be elevated because people need to look up to them. And all of this is that these are very sound doctrine and principles.
Sure.
And so what you have to understand is you are not walking in your true being a true king or a queen if you, number one, don't recognize that when you take that platform, you are in an elevated position.
Mm-hmm.
That means where we could be kind and there are some things that I could just do like everybody else and be like everybody else. Once I have elevated my mindset and who I am, there's a position now. I'm at an elevated, the expectations are higher. And we're going to talk about a lot of times people want to be the king, they want to be the queen, but they don't want the responsibility that comes with it. They don't want the spotlight, because when you get elevated, guess what? Your flaws get highlighted,
Right.
what you do right and wrong, how you look, everything.
Right.
That comes
Right.
with the territory.
Exactly. Do you think that a king or a queen's children have to be told that they're prince and princesses?
Wow.
It comes natural.
It
Wow.
comes naturally.
It's in the bloodline.
It's in the bloodline. So when they are birthed into this world, there's a certain level of care that goes into caring
Sure.
for those kids.
That's right.
That as they begin to age and mature, they
They
understand
already know.
their
That's
position
good.
in the kingdom.
That's good. That's good. You know what that talks about? And we always talk about the negative side of it, but let's talk about the positive side of it. That's a such thing as kingdom entitlement.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're a queen, there are some things you're entitled to. I'm entitled to respect as a queen.
For
Right.
sure.
I'm entitled to some things as a queen, as
You
a
don't
king.
settle.
Right. As a king doesn't have to say, I gotta eat grits if that's not what he wants. Steak. That's a king.
He doesn't settle.
He doesn't have to say, well, I guess I'll take it.
Get what he wants.
And hear what we're saying, right? We're not just talking about literally. We're really talking about a mindset. There are
exactly.
some things, and so a lot of us, we want to be queens and we want to be kings, but we haven't figured out and discovered that there is an elevated position. And we'll talk about it as a man, right? We're gonna let Lawrence talk about even as a man. That's higher, because at that elevated position as the priest, as the king, guess what? Yes, the expectations are high. So it's not any wonder all this pressure is on me. Listen, if somebody's going to put you at the top of that totem pole, you have to deliver.
Gotta get it.
So let's talk about the position that a man has to find himself in, that elevated position. What does that mean as far as, when he was on one level as a man, because we're talking about going from a man to a king, what happens with that transition of being elevated to that position of kingship?
Well, I think that, let me just start from the beginning again. I'm the beginning person.
Right.
You have to first, brothers have to first identify, one, that there's the potential for a king in you.
Oh, that's
All
good.
right.
You have to start there. The potential for a king is in you. Now, how do you go about the potential? You have to go then to the preparation phase for becoming a king.
Good.
And I think that once we first understand that we have in us kingship, then we start preparing ourselves, especially mentally, for that next level, if you will.
That's right.
But we first have to get to that place where we start preparing our mindsets to say, you know what, I'm not going to continue to act like I was when I was just a man. I'm trying to
Right.
move to the point of becoming a
A
king.
king. That's
So my
right.
actions have to change. My language has to change. The way I treat her has to change. The way I think about her has to change. My priorities have to change.
Right.
My protection for her has to change.
Right.
All of these things have to change if you're talking about going to that next level of kingship
That's good.
with a significant other, or even with yourself.
That's good. I'll go back to something I said on a post earlier, and it can be for kings or queens. I said that there's a simple principle that queens understand. They understand that their worth has everything to do with their association.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And what we don't like to say is what we associate ourselves with has to do with our worth. It has everything to do with it. And what I said in my post was that your mental environment, your emotional environment, your spiritual environment all have to do with
Sure.
who you are. So I can't truly, and what I said at the beginning of my post, I said, have you ever saw a queen in an alley? Have you ever saw a queen in a dump? Have you ever seen a scandal that the queen was at the bar getting drunk? There are certain
Won't see
things When you are a queen, I said there's an association somewhere. A queen says there's a certain kind of people. There's a certain kind of environment that I have. Right. There has to be certain elements in place to be able to speak to my nobility. Right. And so my nobility has everything to do with somewhere I've said there is a certain level that works for me. And so as a queen, my position has to do with my environment. And so when things are elevated higher, the bar set, and I said in my post, don't be afraid to set the bar a little higher. Right. Because when you're walking in queendom, when you're walking as a king, there are certain things that shouldn't be common.
Exactly. One of my favorite books of the Bible is the book of Esther. My favorite book. And even though God is never mentioned throughout the book, you can see his hand at work in Esther's life. So as Esther comes from this place of obscurity, she just shows up on the scene. And the preparation and the way the story unfolds and how she takes her position as a queen. She knew she could not go to the king just any old kind of way to ask for what she wanted. So she had to prepare herself. She had to make herself ready. And not only that, but she instilled in her mind that when I leave him, I'm going to leave him with what I want. She knew she could not settle for whatever she didn't want. So she went in with the confidence of a queen.
Position.
Even though she had come from obscurity, Esther walked in her queenship from the time she was appointed to say, I don't want that chick anymore.
Right.
I want this chick.
Right.
Esther took on that queenship.
Right.
Her mindset changed. Her associations changed.
Absolutely.
And she took on that queenship and that royalty.
So you know what happens? You're saying something, and if you guys are just joining, thank you all. Hit the share button, and hit the love button. Let us know that this stuff is resonating with you guys. But share it. I know there is somebody else. One of our watchers said it's hard for some men, to be able to do some of the things we're talking about because all they know, see, and have been told is that they're less than. Well, one of the things, and Pastor Dawn said that's right, restore mankind. One of the things that we are trying to do tonight is hopefully when you can embrace the King, and I just said that thank you for the love. A lot of times, like we said, when you really embrace who you are, the king and queen in you, queens don't have any problem acknowledging other queens.
Another queen.
Kings getting together, they acknowledge each other. They don't have those issues. And so what we're hoping to do is speak some life and speak, really talk about something positive and restoring that one another. And we're hoping if you can hear a man saying positive things about a man, about what men can be, hopefully it wouldn't be that hard next time for you to be able to do it.
I was I go to the prison every Monday and Tuesday. I go to 2 different prisons volunteering, and I was in Lee County on Tuesday. It's so interesting because one of the guys, he actually raised his hand. He was making some comments, and he was saying, ever since you've been coming here, he says, you have really opened up our mindsets to help us to understand that we are somebody.
That's good.
He says, out of all of the other people who come here, and I'm not trying to brag on myself or anything like that, but he was saying out of all the people that come here, you're the only one that really speaks life to us every single week.
Wow.
They said our mindsets have changed. So we go back to our dorms and we try to tell the other brothers that, man, you're somebody, you can make your goals happen. And I'm always, I told myself, only reason why I come out here is to encourage, inspire, and motivate you.
That's right.
Hopefully ignite something in you that says that you're a king and you can still do what God has called you to do. You can still become that man, that king, that God has intended that you will become. And I just love doing that. And I'm saying to those of you who are watching, you have to get to the point where you prepare yourself.
That's right.
Change your mindset and become that king that's in you.
And become that king. That's good. So if you're taking notes, the first thing that you have to realize to be a king, to be a queen, is you have to understand position. So we hope you guys got there. Now, the second one, and this is different, the second P is posture. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about that and bounce that off. Posture has to do with your stance, your disposition, your expectations. When you look, if you've ever watched movies or if you've ever watched documentaries about queens, about kings, royalty, there's a certain posture that they take. The queen, she's real laid back and cool. And if she likes something, she might look real coarse. She might give a little nod, a little smile. But guess what? You won't see her. You won't see her acting unseemly because there is a posture that she's adapted. There is a stance. And so what what happens with queens and kings, you don't see queens if something's happening and it's not right. You don't see her jumping all out of her chair, throwing rocks and saying, what are you guys doing? Y'all messing everything up. You won't even know. She might nod to somebody like, come over here, let's fix this. But she will never break character. Kings, they are not getting out of character because they're not going to let you got to remember, we talked about position. When you're in an elevator and I'm helping somebody, some of you guys are in leadership. That might be at your job. That might be at your church. It might be in your home. You might be the leader as a single mother. You might be the leader as a husband. But when you're in an elevated position, your stance, your posture should always change. I always say to people, I say this all the time, even in ministry, you have to be a person that people don't get you and see you out of character. Right. You need to be in a place where they can always depend on you to be consistent, because consistency says, it translates as you're level-headed. I know that you're not going to break character because things are going crazy and somebody's acting up. You're not going to find a queen in a street fight. Nope. You won't find a queen calling names. Right, pulling off her earrings, getting some back. You won't see her going back
or even
and forth.
Posting unseemly pictures
right.
on Facebook.
You won't see a queen throwing shade. As a matter of fact, you won't see a king and a queen arguing in front of you. Will not even see them having that kind of dialogue. And so if we're going to adapt a king or a queen mentality, our posture has to be consistent.
And even when you're out and about, you'll never see a queen act in a manner that is unlike royalty. Right. Even if she is not dressed as royalty. Right. And I love Princess Diana. They're about to show this documentary on her last 100 days. But one of the things that Princess Diana did was to allow her human side to show more. Right. And as a result of that, if you notice, before Princess Diana, Queen Mother of England dressed and presented herself a certain way. But when Princess Diana came along, when she was the people's queen, the people's princess, Queen Mother now addresses her royalty and her position in a very different way. You still acknowledge the fact that she is the queen of England. Right. However, there's a certain position that she's taken now that allows her to be more approachable than she was before. So queens are approachable.
That's good. And I was getting ready to say, so you hear what she's saying, because we have to understand people who are extremists, and you can go one side too far or one side. Sometimes, and I hear this from guys, and so we got to be honest here. Right. A lot of times, guys will say some of these women act like they just such a queen, that they're just such a level so high that it's unattainable. And so we have to be careful. And this is in general. You can address the guys. I'm addressing the ladies. But sometimes we have to be careful. You're right, that even as queens, we have to be approachable.
And not a queen bee.
Right, not a queen bee
is not necessarily a good thing.
Right. We don't want to be that kind of queen bee, because you can turn people away. And so you have to understand that even though that royalty inside you and that rich blood inside of you says, I don't have to take everything, my standards are high, that doesn't mean that I'm better than somebody else, because we all came from the same thing. So that doesn't mean I can look down on you such to say that I'm better, I'm made out of something better. It simply says, as for me and my house, who I am, how I think, what I will take, my resolve, I don't have to take anything. I don't have to lower my standards.
Right. And I'm actually going to deal with this position just for about 2 seconds.
That's good.
Can y'all tell that I'm sitting in a good position between two brilliant ladies, two brilliant queens? I'm sitting in the middle of them. Now keep it on. Y'all keep going.
But you know what? It's really powerful even about that. As a man that always talks about being a king, do you know that some people that would intimidate? There's not every man that can lay back and say, ladies, you guys, y'all listen, I am encouraging. Somebody said that posture.
That's what I'm secure with.
That's what I was trying to say. His posture is secure. He's leaning back, relaxed. But at the end of the day, this a man. He's going to say, listen, this is what I like. This is what I don't like. I will not be doing that. And he doesn't have to break character for that. And so that's what we're trying to talk about, is these false perceptions of what a queen and what a queen really is. Being a king, being in that, having that posture as a man, and this is talking, from a woman's perspective. A man that is a king, and somebody said that we have to prepare the next generation to have the king and queen mindset. This is how we'll change our community. You're absolutely right. That's why we're trying so hard to do it. A lot of times, women have an issue really acknowledging a man as a king because they may have been in situations where leadership or their position have been abused. And all of us have been or seen situations where people abuse their authority.
Sure.
And so that's the other side of that is it's not always somebody's fault that they're acting a certain way or that they're not, warmed up to that, because people abuse their authority all the time. But no good ever comes out of you abusing your authority. And you abuse your authority when you decide that your value is different than somebody else's. If we're all of value, I can't say Tracy's value is here because she has this degree and Lawrence's value is there and mine is there.
Right.
I don't have the authority to say that. Who I need to be concerned about and where my value needs to lie is in who I am, because you know how they're going to see me? They're going to see me based on how I see myself and what I project out of there. And so again, we have to be careful that we don't raise a generation that's arrogant and self-centered and entitled, but that we also don't raise a generation that's insecure and that doesn't know how to really have the confidence to say, listen, I am a queen. My daddy is treating me like a queen right now. My husband is treating me like a queen right now. And so those different things that we are putting into it, we can't be ashamed. And why is that we feel bad about stepping up into our queendom or being a king? Why is it that we wrestle with that so hard?
Because we feel like if we do that, then we're putting ourselves on display for everyone to critique constructively.
Gotcha.
But not necessarily constructively.
Right.
Sometimes we are opening ourselves up for others to see our faults and our flaws and our frailties. And we're afraid that if I allow myself to open up enough, you're going to see the cracks in my personality. That's good. And so I think about how when you were just talking, if we're all destined for greatness because we are royalty, and we are because we are kings and queens, so we are all destined for greatness. If we truly embrace that, we're all destined for greatness. We're all in the same vehicle driving
same place
to greatness.
Right. We're just taking different roads to get there.
Right. But if we're all and different methods of transportation. You may take a car, he may take a bus.
I'm taking a Bentley.
And you might fly. Right.
And I would fly, because if it's over 3-4 hours, I'm flying. But we're all getting to the same place, which is called greatness.
That's good.
So I can't knock you for wanting to drive because you want to take the scenic route and see all the beauty that the world has to offer.
Great point.
I can't knock him for taking his Bentley with his top down because he chooses to cruise.
Right.
And y'all can't knock me for taking my plane because I definitely can't sit in a car over 3 or 4 hours.
Right.
But we're all getting to the same place, which is called greatness. So I may stop at a destination and say, Lawrence, pick me up in your Bentley because now I want to ride.
Right.
Which means I'm now partnering with him to get to this place called greatness.
That's right.
And then we decide we're going to stop and pick up Elisa.
Right.
And bring her along with us.
Right.
And now we're all still on this destination to greatness, but we've now, instead of taking separate vehicles, which doesn't make us any different.
Get there together.
We all get there together.
That's good.
So now we're looking at, if I still continue to say, hey Lisa, how's that ride going for you?
Right.
Hey Lawrence, how's that Bentley working for you?
Right.
And even on my plane ride, y'all call me and say, hey Trey, how's everything going on your plane ride? We're still getting to that place called greatness.
That's right.
And so I can't knock you.
That's right.
I don't want to throw shade on you.
Right.
But when I get to greatness, my expectation, because we're all royalty, is that I see the two of you there.
That's good.
That's great.
Somebody just made a comment that a lot of times we don't want to embrace our greatness and like you said, in fear of exposure, because we don't want to risk falling publicly. But here's the thing though, and we talk about this a lot. Realistic expectations.
That's key.
I'm human.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, what keeps us sometimes being upfront and transparent keeps us humble, because it keeps us from saying, oh, I have it. Oh, I got it made. It keeps us from saying, listen, and especially because I'm accountable to all you guys, don't always look at me to have a good day. I have an attitude sometimes.
And nobody's perfect.
Right. It keeps you humble. It actually keeps you humble. So I have less of a fear of failing, but it drives me to say, let me just tell you today, I'm going to say something positive and maybe it'll help me, because I'm not feeling positive today.
Exactly.
And hopefully, it's a lot of times where we'll talk about things and then at the end of it, we'll talk and we'll like, man, that really helped me. Some of the stuff you said that really affected me because we're helpers one to another. And real queens and real kings can do that.
A couple of weeks ago when we did How to Love the Hell Out of Myself, I think it was earlier this week? It was earlier this week, and Monday as a matter of fact. I think I talked about how sometimes it's good for women to go in the shower and just have a real good cry.
Yeah.
Monday was a bad day for me. Monday was really, really bad. And I was getting depressed because I'm not as mobile as I usually am.
Right.
And Lawrence was leaving to go to Atlanta to visit his father.
So wait till I leave to cry.
And literally, he did. He said, wait till I leave to cry. He said, you can cry every hour. As a matter of fact, go get in the shower and have a good cry because you need to purge, and that's what you need. So even now, as we're doing these Thursday after Thursday, I'm reminded of what I even say to myself.
Right.
And sure enough, when he left,
It was on.
It was on. But I just had to get it out because I started feeling so depressed because I've been in my house. I've been incapacitated with my broken ankle since March the 29th. That's a month and a couple of days that I've been incapacitated.
Wow.
And I still have another, 6 to 8 weeks to go.
Wow.
Not that long.
A few more weeks to go. And so it does. If you're a person that's used to going and doing and the only time you stop is when you sleep.
Right.
This has been a very humbling experience for me. And so I had to remember what I told you all.
Right.
Even a few weeks ago. A cry is a good thing. So we're trying to be as transparent
That's
as we can
That's the key.
in talking to you all and teaching you all because we're still going through ourselves.
Absolutely.
And we still want y'all to share. We still got a few minutes to go.
Oh yeah, we still have a while to go. Hit the
Show
share
some
button.
love.
Those of you out there that are continually joining, thank you. And she made a good point. Just because you are a king or a queen, it doesn't exempt you from the realities of life.
Absolutely.
You will still, you don't get to say, queens don't cry. Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
Kings don't feel sad. Yes, kings wake up and worry about providing for their family. They have a whole kingdom on their shoulders. They have to worry about, hey, is everybody going to eat? They have to worry about the economy. They have to worry about who's at war with us, who's against us, who do I have to fight? What do I have to do? I got to make this thing happen because it's not the queen's responsibility to do it. And so there are a lot of things that rest on shoulders of royalty.
It's no question.
This is good.
Y'all are good.
So to recap.
Give us a recap.
Those of you guys that are joining, thank you all so much for joining us. We're talking about going from the difference and going from a man to a king and from a woman to a queen. And we're giving 4 P's of royalty, basically. And we talked about the first one is position, knowing that you are in an elevated point in your life. And we also talked about the second one was posture, knowing how you address yourself, your disposition. Thank you guys. They said good stuff. All right, so the third P, and I like this one. The third P is priority. And now I'm going to talk about it from a queen standpoint. Queens don't waste their time on trivial matters.
Y'all hit this thing.
We hitting it. Queens make a distinction between some things. They make a distinction between what's important and what's not. And I always say queens have to use 3 Ds that I use all the time. Distinction, and that's categorizing. It could be, is this a friend or is this associate?
Right.
Because see, queens need to go ahead and identify people. So let me go ahead and make a distinction between, is this something that's going to hurt my livelihood or is this something that's going to enhance it? Queens also use discernment. They don't just look at the exterior. They don't just hear what you say. They're looking at what you do. So queens have to look deeper than what even they see with their naked eye. And the third D is queens have to be decisive. They don't have time to vacillate. They don't have time to spend a whole lot of time saying, should I stay or should I go? Should I do? Listen.
Does he love me? Does he
not love me? Should he abusing me? But I still... Well, queens, when they get to a point, queens have to make decisions. And so what they do is they go ahead, because they've been using distinction and because they've been using discernment, they're able to be decisive. So queens don't spend a whole lot of time hyping themselves up to say, I'm going to do it. They make a decision and they decide, listen, either we're going to make this work or we're not going to do it at all. We're not going to spend a lot of time because they're looking at the fact that their time and their resources are valuable. So queens do not, queens do not waste time on trivial matters. What is a trivial matter?
Ooh, I'm glad you asked. A trivial matter is anything.
Okay.
Anything. And I do mean anything or anyone. Let me add in anyone.
Or anyone. That's a good one.
Anyone that takes you away from where you're trying to go.
Wow, trivial.
Trivial.
Trivial. So can we say trivial things or petty things?
Petty things.
Petty things.
Like a gnat that continues to fly around, and even though you shoot it one time, it keeps coming back.
Right.
That's it. Those are trivial things. Things that you need to go ahead and make a decision on. They're not life-threatening.
They're not life-threatening.
A gnat is not life-threatening,
No,
but a
exactly.
gnat can be aggravating.
It just aggravates you.
Right. It just aggravates.
But because you know your position and you have a posture, you don't see queens sitting on the throne swatting.
Nope.
You won't see queens doing that. Queen's gonna say, "Hey, kill that. Let's move on, or move me out of that position.
There you go.
So I can be in a better place because there are things that I have to do." Somebody said, "Y'all are on fire."
From the male perspective, as it relates to
that's right.
trivial.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. Kings. Let's talk about kings.
It's doing so good, I almost don't have to say anything.
Kings and priority.
From a man perspective, as it relates to trivial things, and I really want to hit home on this one. I want brothers to understand: don't spend a lot of time majoring in the minors and minoring in the majors.
That's good.
You have to get to the point where you be decisive on what's trivial for you. Listen, don't worry about what people think or how they're talking about you.
Right.
Kings don't waste their time trying to figure out who's saying what. Kings just make things happen, and it just goes from there.
That's right. Now that's a good thing. That's a good point for guys. He just said kings don't spend a lot of time. When you are making a decision for your family, when you're making a decision for your life as a king, kings don't spend that. What they do is they have a consulting board. They they come and they seek wise counsel.
Right.
They do that behind closed doors. They talk to people that they know. Kings don't just say, "We're going to war." Kings don't say, "We're going to do this for the economy." No. They have this wise counsel, and so that they get everything in front of them, because guess what? Ultimately, they have to make that decision.
Right.
They have to be able to say, "This is what we're going to do." And once they make the decision, they're not going back making excuses about it. They're not going back explaining themselves to people. That's like Tracy saying, "I'm cutting my hair short," and then she cuts her hair short, and then she goes. Somebody else says, "Tracy, why did you cut your hair short?" And now she's got to say, "Well, I didn't like." Listen, that's her hair. She cut it because I wanted to.
Exactly.
Queens say, "Listen, I made that decision, and that's what it was." Why y'all didn't stay together? It didn't work.
It didn't work.
I mean, I'm just saying. I have to rehash all it, especially if I'm already out of it. It didn't work.
Dr. Phil has this quote that says,
I know.
"Either you make the right decision or you make the decision right."
That's good.
Oh man.
So in being decisive, either you're going to make the right decision,
Right.
or whatever the decision is that you've made, you make it the right decision. You stand behind it and you accept responsibility for the decision you've made. So when we talk about being decisive and not allowing trivial things to take our time, kings and queens don't allow things to distract them.
That's right.
And trivial things are a distraction.
That's right.
So either you make the decision to not allow it to be a distraction, or you allow yourself to make the decision. And even if the decision ends up having a consequence that you didn't expect, you still accept responsibility for that decision, and you make the decision right.
That's right. Somebody said once a king makes a decree, it's done.
It's done. You declare and decree it. You are right.
That's
You want to say sign, seal, delivered.
That's sign, seal, delivered. So we talked about kings and queens. What qualifies you? We have one more to go, and then we're going to give you some qualifications. We said that a king and a queen, it's important to recognize your position.
Right.
It's important to recognize your posture. It's important to understand what is a priority. And now the fourth thing is protocol.
Right.
Now when we talk about royalty, when we talk about walking up in a kingdom, in a castle, you better understand that there is protocol. There is proper protocol that has to be followed. Let me tell you something. You don't just walk in a castle and think you can just approach the throne room.
Right.
Any old kind.
I mean, we can talk about this even biblically. You can't just walk up in the Holy of Holies. I'm just going to roll up in there. No, even the priest had to prepare themselves. So there is something about protocol as a king and a queen. And let me tell you something else. Protocol just doesn't have to do with how people have to deal with you. It has to do with how you are able to deal with people. And so kings, they can't sit on the throne and just start yelling. Queens can't just throw her crown. She's mad. She's going to throw her crown and just start showing out. Queens, there are certain things that she cannot do. There's protocol that's in place. And it goes back to your disposition. There are some things that are not seemingly for a queen. And so there are some things as a queen. I'm going to stay there for a second.
Stay right there now.
I'm a queen. and I have a daughter, so I'm raising a future queen. And so there are certain things that my daughter won't see me wear. Because I always say, I'm somebody's mama. Forget me for a second, but because I just said when you are royalty, you are at an elevated position. There are some, I always say, tell my children, you won't ever hear your mama was in a fight. Nobody will ever tell you, girl, your mama was in a fight. We have video on YouTube. Oh, no, you don't. You know, there are some things that queens and kings will not do. Right. There are certain language, there are certain things my children won't ever tell you they've heard their mom say or do or look or because there are some things, not because it's not because it's me, not because that's not, but there are certain things that are protocol when we gather together, when I am in front of them, when my children don't go to school saying, my mom gonna come up here and show out. Now they want me to. They want to be able to say that, but what they say is, Mom, we know you're going to come over there talking calm and making sure everybody understands. You're going to say what you will and will not do, but because there's a persona that I have, that's who I am, and that's what I need them to see, that when you know who you are, when you're royalty, you don't have to resort to other tactics. I don't have to call you out your name. Right. And even as kings, you know, we were talking about this in another segment. If you are a king and you want a queen to understand you, I think I was saying in one of our sessions, I can hear just as well. You have to yell at me. Exactly. You don't have to scream at me. You don't have to be derogatory to be able to express your point because my ears work either way. Guess what?
And proper protocol, as a queen says, you will not accept it.
Oh, no. I won't
be called out your name.
I will not. And so protocol says, and even as a king, that's why. And I got to advocate for the men here for us. He might not even have to speak up for the men. I have to speak up for the men. That's why women as men, we have to understand as men, there are some ways we can approach a man and expect a certain kind of response. Now, I am all for, y'all know I am all for women power, girl power, black girl magic, all of that. I am here for it. However, I have to understand, we have to understand that a man is a man and that there are certain things I can get all in his face and I want to be all this and try to stand toe-to-toe with the man. Then when he addresses me aggressively, then I want to be a victim like a man because that's how I'm coming at him. Then I can't handle how he comes back at me. But I have to understand that I'm not following protocol here.
Exactly.
I'm addressing him like another man would. And so everything, he's still a man, there's still a king somewhere in there. And so everything in him is getting ready to respond a certain kind of way like a man. And so a lot of times women, we have to take responsibility for that some of the time. We can incite that part and then turn around and say, I don't know why he was being so strong. Listen, I might have provoked that part just because he loves you or just because, you know, we can even say that about our dad. We love my daddy's girl. But now there are certain ways I can just get a little flip, get in my dad. When I was younger and my daddy have to bring that all the way down. It would hurt my soul. But what he was telling me is, you better remember your position. Right. You better figure that thing out. I'm the authority in this house. And so after my feelings were hurt and I got my little self together, I came back on in like, folks. And that's important in relationships, in understanding. Right. It doesn't take anything away from me as a queen to address a king. Like the king that he is. It takes nothing away. And likewise, fellas, it's okay to address a queen like the queen she is without fear of, but if I pump her up, she's going to get out there. We've talked about this before. Yeah, exactly. She's going to get out there and look for somebody else, somebody better than me. We can't use that as an excuse.
But again, the whole thing boils down as it relates to men. Most times when men become intimidated with women, I feel, and I'm not speaking for all men, as I always say, I feel it's because in their minds they're thinking that there's somebody else that can treat them better. But when you become secure with who you are, when you understand that the way you speak to her, you're speaking to the queen, when you understand it's the small things that matter, when you understand those things, you'll become more comfortable and not feel intimidated thinking she's going to go somewhere else or I'm not good enough. You have to get to the point where you understand, one, who you are. Try to develop the king in you, and I can assure you, when you develop the king in yourself, then you'll have an easier time speaking to the queen that's a part of your life.
That's good.
There are, in the game of chess, and I've only played chess. I played chess a little while as I was a younger girl, and I remember the moves of some of the pieces, the rook, the pawn, and do you know that the queen's job in the king of chess is to protect the king.
That's right.
That's the queen's job.
Right.
And when you think about it, a lot of times when a king and queen are on the throne, a lot of times they will bring issues to the queen first.
Right.
And she determines whether or not those issues make it to the king.
That's right.
That's the proper protocol.
Right.
And so when people when you don't allow people to follow the proper protocol in your life, when we take ownership of our own lives and our own royalty and who we are as kings and queens, people come to us and they bring us with any old thing.
Right.
Because they don't understand that there is a protocol that comes, that you can't come to Tracy, cussing Tracy out any kind of way, that you can't talk to me, and you can't bring gossip to me.
Right.
So there's a protocol that I've established
for
in my queendom.
That's right.
That there are certain things that will not make themselves to me.
So you get that. So before you say that, somebody put on here, because so that you guys understand. So protocol is a set of, and you know, we want it to be understood. Protocol are those rules, those things that are unwritten rules that says this is the way that this has to happen. This is, and you set the protocol for your life. You set that set of rules. You determine what that is.
Yeah, I want to touch on that, because when you start talking about it, I'm talking from a man perspective. Sisters, if a man is talking to you any kind of way, calling you out of your name, first and foremost, that's the sign of a non-king. And also that says to you, if you allow it, that's a sign of a non-queen.
That's good.
I don't think that anyone should have to deal with emotional, physical, or any type of abuse. And this goes both male and female, because now women, you know, they're cussing the men and all that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah.
And if a man allows that to happen, that says that he has something missing in him. Because I don't think that's a healthy relationship when you have people who are going at each other, cussing each other out. And, you have to get beyond that type of stuff, because kings and queens don't cut up like that.
Nope.
And I'm saying it from a man perspective, because proper protocol says when you speak to the queen, you get the queen. When you speak to the king, you get the food.
Right.
No, you get the king.
You get the king.
I'm going to say, you know what I'm saying. I'm saying if you speak to the fool, that's
you're gonna get the food.
Right. You get the food.
Right. And that's on both ends. And so we have to be very, very careful. This leads us into, and we're so grateful for you guys that have joined us tonight. We hope that you guys, we're going to go back over our 4 P's, and then we're going to kind of give you some things that we looked at that kings and queens have the authority to do. But we talked about the 4 P's, and the first one was position, posture, priority, and protocol. And those are the 4 P's of royalty. That's if you're going to be a king and if you're going to be a queen. Now, we were looking at what are some things that queens have the power to do. Somebody said about the kings earlier, kings get to make decrees. They get to set the order. They can say, this is what it is, and that's that. And listen, we can't go against the king. When the king sets a decree in the land, do you know what everybody else has to do? Enforce it.
I'm going to tell you, ladies, just hold on for 1 second while I say what I got to say.
Say that.
Y'all are doing a great job.
Thank you, King. So here's and Tracy, we're gonna have fun with this. So as in our last few minutes before we go, we're right at our time. We have about 3-4 minutes. Things that queens can do. Did you know that queens can banish?
Really?
They can get rid of things. They can say, go. And do you know, and so personally, if there are some things in our own lives that we don't like, if there are some habits and some things on the inside of us like self-doubt that makes us not be a queen, what can we do?
We can declare and decree gone.
Gone. We can banish it. Low self-esteem, banish, go. So we can banish. Queens have the authority to banish. So you can get rid of those things that are keeping you from your true queendom. Banish it. Do you know what else queens can do?
What else?
Queens can either suspend something or they can summons it to them.
So you mean I can actually bring those things to me that I actually want. Instead of being jealous of others, I can work for it for myself.
I can summons it. I can call it to myself. And then the other thing was queens can suspend. That means if there was something going on in my life I didn't like, I can stop it right then. I can push. I don't want to do that anymore. What? You mean I don't have to stay in that situation?
Right.
You mean I don't have to keep dealing with that? Suspend it. Queens have the power to do that. The thing that queens can do, queens can appoint and queens can remove.
So I can actually appoint myself queen of my queendom and rule in the way that I need to rule.
Y'all making some good words in that.
And guess what else you can do? I can actually appoint people in my life. I can say, you're going to be my trustee. You're going to be my defender. You are going to be those things. And then I can call them to me and appoint them and give them a purpose in my life. They don't have to come and say, yeah, I'm going to be your ruler. Hold on. Because I can suspend, I can appoint. I actually have the authority to do those things. Guess what else? And we're going to leave you guys.
I like being a queen.
I like being a queen, and I want you to like being a queen.
I see them hearts. Y'all love me.
Thank you. Y'all loving this. Thank you, guys. Guess what the great thing about queens they can do?
What is that?
This is crazy. Queens can declare war.
Now, so I can declare war on sickness and death. I can declare war on bad attitudes.
Declare war.
I can declare war on men who don't respect me and love me.
Declare war. I can declare war on how I look at myself in a negative way. Right. I can say, I'm not doing that anymore. I can declare war on me being jealous of other people.
And low self-esteem.
Declare war on low self-esteem. I declare war on those because queens have the authority to declare war. And so queens and kings out there, you should have realized if you haven't already. They're saying, I love it. Kings and queens, we are summoning you guys. If you are watching this, rise up and take your rightful place. You know, that's a good thing.
I like the kingdom.
I like the kingdom. And realize that this is your domain, that you are able to walk in authority, that you can walk in love, that you can walk in your kingship, that you can walk in your queenship, and that you can be that true ruler. And you know, we got to tell them why. You want to know why they can? Know what they are worth? You're worth the investment. We hope you guys enjoyed us
What do we
tonight.
have coming up?
Oh, yeah. We got a great announcement. So, we know we took a lot of time, and this was deliberate. We took a lot of time on the end with the queens. And queens, I hope you guys have had fun with us tonight, and we saw all the love. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
We have had a blast with you guys. But we did all of that about queens because we got to throw in the guys. Guys, kings, we have something great coming for you guys. Knighton is introducing the King's Corner. Now tell us what that is.
Actually, I am on May the 1st going to kick off a segment called the King's Corner. And really what I want to do every day is put some positive affirmations out there for the guys, showing them how to treat their significant others so that we can help develop more kings who understand how to treat their queens. So you go to my relationship movement starting Monday, the 1st of May, and we're going to have the King's Corner. And we're going to have some great blogs, great conversations as it relates to kingship so that we can help develop the real brothers out there to become kings. And as we always say, we're not trying to make an impression.
We're trying to make an impact. So listen, you saw us standing here. The King's Corner is coming up. You saw tonight us giving each other positive affirmations. And so if you picked up on those 4 P's and if you got on the end what you are able to do as a queen, you realize that you can suspend things in your life that no longer works for you. You realize you can summon good things to you that you want. You realize that you can banish away bad habits, low self-esteem. You realize that you can appoint people in your life, and you realize that you can declare war on all the things that are trying to come against you and your kingdom. We love you guys. We appreciate your support. We're so excited. We had an awesome time with you guys tonight. Awesome. If you missed it, you can go to the My Relationship Movement page and watch it again. And YouTube. Tomorrow it will be on YouTube. You can download it and watch it as many times. Share this and make sure that you can incite some kingship and some queenship in some of the kings and queens that you know.
And I think it would be good for you to start tonight. Call another sister, speak to the queen in her.
That's good.
Brothers, call another brother, speak to the king in him.
Absolutely.
Let's get this rolling so that we can become who God intended for us to be.
Because we are all destined for greatness.
All destined for greatness.
Appreciate y'all.
Thank you guys.
Love y'all.
Thank you.
See y'all next week.
Good night.
You guys say close first.